Sometimes a routine traffic stop is just that. A minor inconvenience, a brief interruption on the way home. But sometimes it becomes something far greater, a turning point, a career-defining moment. And for one officer in Sacramento, it was the day his assumptions collided with a truth he never saw coming. The sun was beginning its slow descent over the city, draping the streets of Sacramento in strokes of gold and amber. Rush hour traffic was thinning. The chaos of the day was giving way to the stillness of evening. Behind the wheel of a silver sedan sat Eric Porter. Another long day at the office was finally behind him, and all he wanted now was the comfort of home. The hum of the engine, the soft, cool air from the vents, and the faint melody playing from the radio. It was the kind of quiet that a man carries like medicine after a demanding day. Eric slowed for a yellow light, easing the car to a gentle stop as it turned red. And that's when the silence shattered. Blue and red lights exploded in his rearview mirror. A sharp police siren pierced the evening air. Eric's brow furrowed. He signaled, pulled over, and rolled down his window. From the cruiser behind him stepped Officer Bradley Larson, mid-30s, buzz cut. His badge caught the last of the evening light. Larson walked with the confidence of a man who believed every street belonged to him. License and registration, he barked, curt and commanding. Eric complied, his movements calm and deliberate. He passed over the documents without a word, but he could already feel it, the officer's gaze searching him, dissecting him, as though looking for a reason to go deeper. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Larson asked. "I'm not entirely sure," Eric replied politely. "You didn't come to a full stop at the light," the officer said, though his voice carried hesitation. Eric tilted his head slightly. "I see. I thought I slowed down in time, but I understand." Larson didn't answer. Instead, he lingered, staring, studying. It was no longer a routine stop. Not for him. Larson glanced at the license in his hand. "You're not from around here, are you?" Eric's reply was steady. "I moved here a few months ago." The address is on the license, but Larson wasn't listening. His questions weren't about traffic anymore. They were about something else. "Where were you headed in such a hurry?" he asked. "Just going home." The calmness in Eric's voice unsettled Larson. He expected nerves. He expected stammering. Instead, he was met with composure, and that composure felt like defiance. "Step out of the car," Larson ordered. Eric tightened his grip briefly on the steering wheel. Then, without protest, he opened the door and stepped out. The officer sized him up, taller than him, shoulders broad, dressed in a tailored suit. Polished shoes, professional, careful, but none of that mattered. Hands where I can see them. Larson snapped. Eric complied. "Is there a specific reason, officer?" Larson smirked faintly. "Routine. We've had some incidents. You can never be too careful." Eric turned his head slightly, meeting Larson's eyes. "Incidents involving men in business suits driving sedans? Or does this have to do with something else?" The question landed like a blow. Larson's composure faltered. What followed was a test of wills. Larson frisked Eric with rough, exaggerated movements, searching for weapons, searching for an excuse. But Eric stood still, calm, unmoved. "You're clean," Larson muttered, irritated. Eric turned to him, his voice sharp but even. "Of course I am. So if we're done." "I'm not done." Larson cut him off, his voice rising. "You seem to know a lot about how this works. What are you hiding?" Eric folded his arms. His tone never wavered. "I believe in transparency, that's all." The words twisted in Larson's ears. It felt like challenge. It felt like mockery. "You think you're smarter than me?" Larson growled, stepping closer. "You think you can talk your way out of this?" Eric's gaze was unwavering. "I don't think anything, officer. I believe in fairness. And so far, I'm not seeing much of it here. The silence that followed was heavier than any shout. For the first time, Larson looked uncertain. This wasn't going the way he expected, finally. Eric reached slowly into his pocket. I'm reaching for my badge, he said calmly, watching Larson's hand twitch near his holster. No need for theatrics. I want you to see it. He pulled out a leather wallet and flipped it open. Inside, a gleaming badge. Eric Porter, he said evenly, head of internal affairs. Sacramento Division. Larson froze. His authority cracked like glass dot internal affairs. The very office that held his career in its hands. Eric's voice was calm, almost disappointed. The most troubling part of this interaction isn't the profiling. It isn't even the escalation. It's the fact that you did all this without ever stopping to think who I might be. Because you assumed I didn't deserve respect. Larson swallowed hard, his face pale. With trembling hands, he returned the license and registration. Eric's parting words cut deeper than any punishment. Remember this, Officer Larson. The badge doesn't make you better than anyone. It makes you accountable to everyone. Pause, softer tone. The next morning, Eric sat at his desk at Internal Affairs. Larson's file lay open before him. Minor complaints of misconduct, patterns ignored. Larson wasn't an exception. He was a symptom. Later, across from Chief Daniels, Eric laid it out plainly. Quiet doesn't fix anything, he said. Quiet lets it keep happening. It's time to be loud. And loud. They were. What began as a traffic stop became the spark for reform. Department-wide reviews, accountability systems. Training that demanded more than compliance. It demanded respect. Larson faced suspension. But the real victory wasn't in punishing one man. It was in preventing the next. Months later, Eric stood before a packed hall of officers, officials, and citizens. He spoke not of blame, but of responsibility. Justice isn't just about catching the bad guys, he said. His voice steady, strong. It's about ensuring that those who protect and serve do so with fairness, with respect, with integrity. That's the badge I believe in, and that's the badge we're building together. The applause was thunderous, but Eric didn't linger in the praise because for him, this wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a better one, and that night, as the city lights of Sacramento shimmered against the horizon, Eric knew the truth. Change doesn't come overnight, but it does come when someone dares to stand up. End of script. Approx. 1,580 words. Approximately 10 minutes of narration at natural pace.